We locked eyes, and he just stared at me like a deer in headlights.
Okay.
He did not have that same smile as before at the park.
No.
Hey guys, Dennis Machina here. Thanks for hanging out. And with today being Valentine's Day, I was trying to think what would be the perfect video for me to react to. What would be something that would make you think of love and affection, and being happy, being with your significant other. That's right, it is 5 Valentine's Day horror stories animated, because if something else won't keep you up all night long after watching this video, this certainly will. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, please go over and support Mort's channel. I'll leave a link to it along with a link to the original video in the description. And if you enjoy what you see your day, minute warning, maybe give that like button some love and subscribe for more daily reactions. Without any further ado, thank you.
I've never been a huge fan of Valentine's Day.
Yeah, me either.
I've always found the holiday to be kind of a drag and a waste, kind of like New Year's Eve. At the time of the story, I was 20 years old. I worked at a small convenience store that was open 24 hours. I told them that I would work the overnight shift on Valentine's Day because I didn't have any plans. The night started out just like any other night shifts I had worked in the past. Very slow and boring, so I was able to get most of the work done by about midnight. I usually spent the remainder of the shift just watching YouTube or Netflix. At about 1:30 a.m., the bell rang, alerting me that someone had entered the store.
Ooh.
He was a tall, somewhat handsome man from what I could tell at a quick glance. I shouted, "How are you tonight, sir?" And he responded almost immediately, "Cassie, is that you?" I paused for a moment in disbelief that he recognized me. And then that's when it hit me. It was a guy named Ricky that I went to high school with. We were never really close, but always very friendly.
Okay.
I immediately greeted him with a hug because that's just my personality. After a minute or two of catching up, I finally asked, "What are you doing in here so late?" He frowned slightly and said, "Well, I just broke up with my girlfriend about a week ago, and honestly, I've been a bit of an insomniac lately and just wandering around." I said I was sorry about the breakup and asked if he needed anything, and he responded in a very genuine voice. "Honestly, it's just really great to see an old friend, and if you wouldn't mind, if you're not too busy, I would love to just sit and talk for a while."
Oh, that's
Actually,
nice.
I thought it was kind of sweet and felt bad, so I told him he could hang and we could just talk and catch up.
Okay.
The first 10 to 15 minutes were normal, even enjoyable. We laughed and joked about some old high school memories. After about 15 minutes, he asked to use the restroom, and of course I let him. This was when I started to think things through a little bit. This random guy showed up in the middle of the night and just happened to immediately recognize me and strike up a conversation with me. I was sure it was just a coincidence, but it did seem a little bit weird. While he was in the bathroom for a minute, I decided to search him on Facebook and noticed he had some mutual friends. The first thing I noticed was that he had some weird photos. Pictures of him with knives and lots of symbology stuff that almost looked like witchcraft or something.
Damn.
I don't know, I'm not much of a horror buff, but one of the pictures definitely had a pentagram in it. He came out of the bathroom a few moments later, and this is when things started getting really strange.
Oh no.
I threw my phone back down and greeted him as if everything were normal. He said in a low, almost disturbing voice, "I'm so happy to see you again." I responded in a confused manner.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great seeing you too." He slammed both hands on the counter that I sat behind and said in a now aggressive voice,
Oh boy.
"You don't understand. I'm so happy I found you.
Oh.
I love you, Cassie,
Oh.
and we were meant to be together." Going from semi-creeped out
No
to
thanks.
full-on terrified, I just responded nervously, not knowing what else to say. Thanks, Ricky, but I'm seeing someone." That, of course, was a lie, but I honestly didn't know what else to do.
That's fair.
At this point, he tried to grab my arm from the other side of the counter, and I jumped back quickly and told him he needed to leave. He took a step away from the counter and looked at me with almost lifeless eyes and a smile that left my body paralyzed. He dropped his coat to the ground and took his shirt off. He was covered with tattoos. Really creepy tattoos.
Oh,
Across his
God.
chest was the word "animal" in a crazy font. The rest of his torso was covered with strange symbols. I'm not sure actually what kind of symbols. Under his left pec was my name.
Oh,
tattooed.
God!
It literally said Cassie in cursive. He then pulled a knife out of his pocket and pointed to the tattoo of my name while he continued his sinister smile.
Oh,
and gaze.
God.
I know it's easy to say what you would do in this situation, but I was frozen.
Yeah,
I felt lightheaded.
that's
I
fair.
was in a dream and couldn't wake up. I was scared if I made a move, he would lunge at me or try to grab me again. He started to scream my name loudly. Cassie! Cassie! I started to cry. I couldn't even catch my breath, and that's when it happened. The bell from the door rang.
Oh, thank
There was
God.
a big man walking into the store. Ricky didn't even flinch. He kept his gaze fixed on me and was slowly approaching me. Once the man saw what was happening and saw me cowering in fear, he ran over and pushed Ricky down.
Good.
Ricky got up and ignored the man completely and still kept his crazy gaze on me.
Oh.
I picked up my phone to call the police, and that's when Ricky finally ran and tried to jump the counter, and the man took him down again.
Nice.
This time holding him down until the authorities showed up. Ricky was arrested with that blank stare across his face. That man who saved me just happened to be a passing truck driver wanting to grab a hot cup of coffee. I feel like I owe him my life. I have no idea what Ricky planned on doing. But
Nothing
he was
good.
charged, and they used video footage from the store to help with the conviction. I'm so thankful for that truck driver, and I will never forget that evil, dead look in Ricky's eyes as he lunged for me.
Oof.
And what was that tattoo? Was it really my name? Or for someone else named Cassie? I don't work overnights anymore, and I actually moved far away from this town.
Good idea.
I'm not sure if Ricky ever got help or is still in jail. I have no idea when or where this obsession he developed for me began. And honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just hope we never meet again.
Some things are better left unsaid. Damn. Glad she's okay.
Valentine's Day is a time for love and showing emotion and gratitude to that very special person in your life. 4 years ago, my girlfriend and I decided to go out for Valentine's Day. Where we live, it is still fairly warm in February, so I decided to take my girlfriend on a picnic that we had been planning for about a week or so. My girlfriend and I love being outdoors, and I figured after the picnic, perhaps we could walk on a trail or perhaps take a quick hike. About a month ago, while I was hiking, I found this amazing spot where I thought we could have the picnic. From one of the main trails, it only took about 15 minutes to walk there, and it wasn't that hard of a walk either. You did have to go off of one of the main trails, around a semi-narrow bend and leading to a small rock formation. The area overlooked our home. It was a beautiful view and enough flat land where we could sit and have a really nice picnic. I set up an entire area for us, chairs, tables, and a bunch of our favorite snack foods.
Oh.
On the rear side of this spot was more woods, and even in the daylight there were so many trees back there that it seemed dark. So when Valentine's Day finally came, we set off for our adventure. Thankfully, it was a beautiful sunny day. It was warm with a nice breeze and not a cloud in the sky. We held hands on the trail until we got to the spot where I went off the trail. I told her to trust me as we went off the path. She was hesitant, but was down for the journey. Just as I expected, the short trip was easy for her. We reached the spot in no time, and she was blown away. She just stopped and stared out at the horizon in awe. When she saw the spread of food I had, she was even more blown away. Today could not have gone any better, and in almost a blink of an eye, that changed.
Oh.
While we were laughing and staring at the beautiful view, she stopped suddenly. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that she had heard something in the woods. I looked behind in the dark trees, but saw nothing. I told her she was crazy, just kidding around, obviously, and tried to go back to flirting with her, but she wasn't having it. She insisted that I checked out the woods. So, annoyed more than anything, I told her I would. I got right up to where the tree line started, and I peeked through some endless amounts of trees. I saw nothing. If I'm being honest, I had a really hard time making out anything in there, but I truly didn't see anything. She approached after a minute or two and said in a terrified voice, "Right there. You don't see that shape? It looks like a person."
What?
I squinted and tried to make out the shape. It just looked like a shadow to me. Babe, I think that's just a shadow, I responded in an almost condescending voice. She was hysterical and asked me to please look at it. So I stepped into the dark forest, and to my absolute fear, the dark figure moved.
Oh!
It was very slight, almost like a shoulder shrug, but I saw it. At this moment, I felt intense anxiety and fear, but I didn't want to freak out my girlfriend, or even worse, alert this potentially dangerous person that I knew that they were there.
Maybe you should go.
After only a couple of steps, I told my girlfriend I needed something, and I turned back to where we were sitting. I grabbed my girlfriend and tried to tell her not to freak out, but that I did in fact see a person in the trees. She was crying hysterically, and I was just trying to think of the best way to get out fast. I looked down over the lookout, but it was just too steep. The only way was the way we came, which was fine, but I just didn't want this lunatic to follow us. I decided to leave all the stuff behind and start walking down the rock formation.
Fair.
She went down first as I stared into the trees, and that's when I saw it clear as day. This shadow figure was definitely a man, and he was approaching us now. He was only about 45 or 50 feet away. I couldn't make out any specific details, but it looked like he had a beard. I finally started going down the rock formation, and I told my girl to run as fast as she could. We made it to the trail quickly. As we stopped to catch our breath, we heard the rustling of trees and the crack of sticks. This man was chasing us.
Oh,
She
boy.
pulled out her phone to call the police, but apparently she didn't have a signal.
Of course.
We finally reached the parking lot of the park trails, and there were 2 police cars. The police were already looking for someone. Apparently, there was a woman jogging the trails early in the morning, and found a man laying off to the side of one of the trails.
Oh.
She called the authorities right away, and the man reported being mugged and robbed. We told the cops everything, but by the time they got into the woods, they couldn't find the man. From what I understand, they never caught this crazy person in the woods, and I'm not sure what he would have done if he actually caught up to us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I still can't believe my girlfriend spotted him from so far away, and I'm so thankful she did. We both have a really hard time going on nature trails now, and
Fair.
I still have yet to return to that specific park. From now on, we decided it was best just to stay indoors, especially for Valentine's Day.
Agreed. That's what I would do.
This is a short story that happened to me last year on Valentine's Day. I recently bought a house with my soon-to-be husband. He works really hard and always spoils me when he can. While he was at work, I decided to run down to the local store and buy some stuff to make him a romantic dinner. The store is literally 100 yards away from my house at most, so I quickly left around 1 p.m. and did not lock my door. I live in a really safe area with hardly any crime, and the police station right around the block. I was going to be back in less than 10 minutes, so I didn't think it was a big deal to lock my door.
It's fair.
I left and came back in just under 15 minutes. I waited in line longer than I thought. The rest of my afternoon was normal. I prepared dinner and got the table set with candles and everything along those lines. My afternoon was fairly normal and just like any other day. At about 4:30 p.m., I went to the bathroom and thought I could smell a funny smell, almost like cologne.
Oh.
My boyfriend didn't wear cologne, but I didn't think too much about it. Maybe it was my body wash from the shower or something along those lines. A little after 7, my boyfriend came home from work. He greeted me with Valentine's Day flowers and
Aw.
an amazing piece of cheesecake that I would be having for dessert.
Nice.
I was thrilled. He was also so thankful for the dinner I had prepared for him, and we had a lovely evening. After we ate, he said he was going to go wash up and meet me on the couch for a movie and some cheesecake. As he walked upstairs where our bathroom was, he stopped talking mid-sentence and said in a voice that still haunts me, "What's that smell?" I came to the bottom of the stairs and asked if he smelled the cologne too. He did and immediately mouthed the words, "Call 911" to me.
Oh.
I went into the other room and called. I tried to whisper as to not alert the potential intruder. What my boyfriend didn't tell me until later was that he saw muddy footprints on
Oh!
the bathroom floor.
Oh,
The
God.
shower curtain was open with 2 wet, dirty footprints inside. Next to the bathroom is a spare room that we don't use, and the door was shut. And that door is never shut. He grabbed the door slowly and tried to turn the handle, but it was being held from the other side.
Oh,
He
God.
opened the door. And to the horror of both of us, was a small, dirty-looking man. He was dressed in all black, with brown work boots. My boyfriend, who is only an average build, slammed him down with ease and pushed him against the wall. After only a few moments, the police showed up and quickly ran upstairs. Luckily, nobody was hurt. And the
Yeah?
intentions of this intruder were unknown. I was alone all afternoon with him, and he did nothing. I couldn't sleep well that night. I remembered that it was all my fault. I always locked the door, and this one time I decided not to. I began to freak out that the man was in the shower right next to me when I was going to the bathroom.
Ooh.
I'm just thankful my boyfriend didn't get hurt, and
Yeah.
the police station is literally right around the block. This year he took off Valentine's Day with me, and we're still trying to cope with the experience. The worst part is we still never got answers. We don't know why this man broke in, and I'm not sure we ever will.
So if I had a guess for this one, it just seems like some homeless guy just looking for a place to stay. Because if he didn't do anything, if he didn't go after her prior to now, because he was probably just chilling in this room thinking, oh, nobody's home, it's going to be fine, it's going to be all good. But if there was any sort of evil intention, I feel like he would have attacked her before then because she was all by herself at that point.
So the events of this story happened to me 2 years ago on Valentine's Day. It was the first Valentine's Day I had celebrated with my now fiancée Dee. We decided it would be nice to go on a double date with a mutual couple we both knew. The evening was nice and relaxing. We went to their house for a lovely dinner and some games.
Oh.
None of us really were the type that liked going out drinking or partying,
Same.
so this was an ideal night for us. After a couple of hours, we decided we were going to go home for the night and watch some movies in front of our electric fireplace. Now, the couple whose house we went to didn't really live too far away, but they did kind of live in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
We live in a decent-sized town, but once you reach the outskirts of town, it's a lot of cornfields, farms, and huge open fields. So even though it was only about a 10-minute drive, it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. When you leave our friend's house, you travel down a long road with no lights for about a mile or so, then take a left and travel down another even longer road in the pitch black until eventually you reach the outskirts of town. Well, about halfway down the road, we saw these flashing lights shining through the seemingly endless row of trees, and until we finally saw it.
Hello, alien.
After we passed all of the trees, we pulled over on the side of the road, and there, hovering over the field, was a massive craft of some kind. I'm not real good with measurements, but I would say about the size of a plane, but a very strange shape. It was long and kind of flat with a pointed edge. It was clearly hovering over the field, high enough that it was well above us, but not moving. There was lights all over the craft, and many of them were flashing in an erratic pattern. My then-girlfriend and I sat in amazement, and admittedly fear at this huge craft. And the most peculiar thing was that it was quiet. You couldn't hear any noise whatsoever coming from the craft. As I took out my phone to try and record this, all the lights went off on the craft.
Oh.
I tried to snap a picture at this point, but it was just too dark, and the picture just looks black. The craft then started to make a very loud humming noise, and even though we could barely see it, it started to slowly approach the road where we were parked.
Oh, God.
At this point, scared and nervous, we decided to drive away. When we got to the end of the road, we saw the lights again poking through the trees. Once we got home, we tried calling our friends several times, but they didn't answer. Finally, about an hour later, she called back and said she was sorry, and didn't even hear her phone ring, which we found strange because her phone was always on high. We told her about the events, and she seemed very skeptical. She said living over there her entire life, she has never seen or heard anything like that ever. We talked about the event for a while and eventually said goodbye and enjoyed the rest of Valentine's Day and really had a great rest of the evening. Shortly after that night, we found out that several people in the area had experienced seeing strange things like that.
Oh.
Apparently there is a military base nearby, and some believe that they are testing some kind of new military equipment.
Oh, okay. That makes
Others
sense.
think it's something perhaps extraterrestrial. I'm not sure what I saw that evening, but I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I saw something big and very close to me, something that I am unable to explain. Has anyone ever seen this craft I speak of? I'm just looking for answers.
No.
The last 2 years on Valentine's Day, we have gone back at the same time to see if we see anything, and we've seen nothing since that night. Though this was strange and terrifying, it has given us a Valentine's Day tradition and an event that we will never forget.
Freaking UFOs on Valentine's Day? So that's definitely not something I think about when I think about Valentine's Day.
The contents of this story have caused me to recently move back with my parents who live in another state. Last year I was enjoying my first year of being a college grad and living in my own house. Well, a house I rented, but I still lived alone. I was focused on my job and wasn't really looking for a boyfriend or anything like that. Every morning I go down to the park, which is only about a 2-minute walk, and I jog before getting ready for work. On Valentine's Day, my routine was no different. As I was finishing my jog, I was approached by a pretty handsome-looking man.
Oh, hello.
He was tall, looked in shape, styled hair, and super white teeth. My creep alarm was not going off at all. He said in a calming voice, "You're very pretty. I just thought I wanted to tell you that, and hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day."
Oh, how sweet.
And then he just jogged off. Honestly, it kind of made me smile because that kind of stuff doesn't usually happen to me.
It's very nice.
After all that excitement, I just continued on with my day like I would any other day. At about 1 p.m., the secretary at my job told me I had a package. I thought this was very strange considering I had never gotten packages before. It was a huge, beautiful bouquet of roses.
Oh.
There was a note on the roses that said, "To the lovely lady I saw at the park.
Oh.
I hope this makes you smile."
Oh.
Now, it did make me smile, which is stupid, but I admittedly realized how weird and creepy it was.
Mm-hmm.
That night, I was cooking dinner and was going to do some work from my home computer. I thought I could hear a noise outside my window, but I just chalked it up to the wind or something. I got up a little after 8 to clean some dishes and take a break from the computer. I looked out my kitchen sink window and saw a car outside my house parked in the street.
Oh.
No, I had no other reason to be freaked out other than just a bad feeling.
Uh-huh.
There was no parking on my street after 7 p.m., and I had never seen this car before. Now again, there could have been dozens of explanations, but I just didn't feel good about the entire situation. It just felt really off. I sat back down at the computer trying to focus on my work, but I had this sickening feeling in my stomach. As I sat there in dead silence of my room is when I was sure I could hear something. I had a window that sat right next to my computer where I was sitting. I pulled back the curtain and exposed the man from the park
Oh!
break into the window.
Oh, God!
We locked eyes, and he just stared at me like a deer in headlights.
Okay.
He did not have that same smile as before at the park. He looked
No.
mean, aggressive. After only a couple of seconds of eye contact, which seemed like an eternity,
Uh-huh.
he started to bang on the window and screaming, "Let me in."
No,
I
thanks.
screamed and ran to the other room, calling the police.
Yeah, do
He
that.
must have heard me because I saw out of the kitchen window him run to the car in front of my house. I couldn't make out the license. All I knew is that it was a white Chevy of some kind, which describes about 1 billion people.
Sure.
I never forgot the look in his eyes. Almost immediately, I moved home. I never stayed in that house again.
Good call.
I was advised to stay at a hotel for a couple of nights, and then I drove home to my parents. I'll never forget that almost evil look he had as we locked eyes through the window, no more than inches apart. They never found the man I described, and many people think I made this story up. But I'll never forget the horror of that Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see that looking out their window on any day, let alone Valentine's Day.
Have y'all been following all these Zoom and Skype dates that have been happening since the lockdown started? As you imagine, the use of dating apps have skyrocketed since the government had ordered us all inside for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
Those who would usually flaunt their game in the club or at the gym are now forced to use the same tactics as the less socially adept of us in dating apps. And although I'm not entirely happy with the increased competition, I'd be lying if I said my match count hasn't bumped up a little. Silver linings, right? Anyway, instead of using Tinder or Hinge, with their increased emphasis on physical appearances, definitely not my strong point given I'm about 30 pounds overweight right now, I opted for Reddit's R4R forum, which is full of posts from those who want to hook up for conversation, flirting, and occasionally even more. So, I put up this pretty dumb post, basically asking if there were any girls that wanted to have like a lockdown date or whatever. I listed a bunch of my interests, mainly horror movies and a few political issues close to my heart, and implored anyone who identified with them to get in touch. One or two girls did, and I feel mean admitting this, but they just didn't seem particularly engaging. Nice, yes, charming, one really was, but our talks didn't light a fire in me.
Well, I mean, that's fair. You have to connect with the person to have some sort of conversation and future with.
Like the message I got in the wee small hours of the morning when I was up way past my usual bedtime. The message from a girl named Amber who wrote eloquently and charmingly about how she too was looking for something of a lockdown bae herself. She was highly politically involved, as she put it, which definitely sparked my interest, in sharp comparison with the two other girls who wrote back to me who didn't seem interested in politics. She was also extremely intelligent. The way she was able to articulate her thoughts was something I had rarely encountered in online interactions, which is also why I was so shocked when I found out she was only 18.
Wow.
11 years my junior.
Damn.
Only, when she described herself, I started to get suspicious. She seemed perfect. Too perfect. She told me she was 5'7", Asian American, fit, and toned from yoga and spin class. In her own words, she was pretty cute. Catfish was the first thought that came to my mind. There was absolutely no way a girl as cute sounding as that would be getting in contact with me. So I just made a joke about it. Well, a joke that wasn't really a joke. I basically called her out on it. How she didn't have to pretend to be some hot Asian girl just to get my attention, not with the kind of conversational skills that she did. The next message was just a link to an Imgur photo. A risky click, if ever there was one, as there was absolutely nothing in the way of a caption to clue me into what the picture was of. But I suppose curiosity just got the better of me, and I just clicked. For those that don't already know, a verification photo is when a person handwrites their username or other pertinent information on a piece of paper to prove that they are indeed who they say they are. And yep, you guessed it. The picture was verification. As it turned out, Amber was exactly who she claimed to be. Young, Asian, and impossibly gorgeous. I mean, I was literally stunned when I saw that picture of her. I just stopped and stared for what seemed like minutes. When it came to returning the favor, I was terrified. I am not in the least bit confident about my appearance, as I've made clear, and the idea of trying to take a selfie, something I'd never even done before that evening, was almost too much to bear. But I did it anyway. I combed my hair, washed my face, then went over my beard with the barely used trimmer my mom bought me for my 28th birthday. Basically her way of telling me to get that stuff off my face. Then,
being a
when I
mom,
was done, I found my angle, took the photo, and then sent it over. The suspense, the raw suspense, oh my god. I honestly think the last time I was that nervous was before my first date I ever went on as a 17-year-old in high school. I'm talking that heart-racing, sweaty palm, time-slowing-down nervous that makes you feel sick to your stomach. I was convinced I'd never hear from her again, that she'd see how mismatched this whole thing was and just up and ghost me.
Oh.
Only she didn't. She actually replied saying that I was cute.
Oh.
That was 3 weeks ago now. We've
That's
talked
nice.
every single day since then, sometimes having multiple hour-long phone calls that
Oh,
run into
phone.
the wee small hours of the morning. And the more we talked, the more serious things became. At one point, Amber asked where she saw this going after lockdown was over. She told me she was living in Portland, whereas I was all the way over in the greater Boston area,
Oh, wow.
pretty much opposite ends of the country to one another. But she pretty much straight up raised the issue of us needing to act on the chemistry we had. I told her that money was no object, that she was legit the most beautiful, charming young woman I'd ever met in my entire life.
Oh.
It was true. I meant every word of it, but I understood when she told me that she heard that kind of thing all the time, that they'd tell her just about anything to get the chance to sleep with her.
Sure.
And I believed that too. She asked me how far I'd be willing to go to prove myself to her. I told her as far as she needed me to go. At that, she just laughed, telling me how she doubted it.
Oh.
I was indignant. I'd do anything. Everything she asked just to make her believe it. That's when she told me to get a knife.
Oh.
I'm ashamed to say that there was barely any hesitation. I just trusted her.
Oh.
I trusted that she knew what was best for me. She already seemed to be able to read me like a book. She asked if I had an envelope handy. I told her yes, that I had a pack of about 100 crisp white envelopes. She told me to open it. I obeyed. She told me to place the blade of the knife onto my palm. I obeyed.
Oh!
And when she finally gave me the order, I pulled the blade across my flesh
Ah!
and let fresh blood flow onto
Oh!
the open envelope. It
Oh!
didn't even hurt.
Oh,
It was the
God!
strangest thing, but for the first few minutes there was no pain at all. Just this dull, hot feeling as I watched the blood flow from the open wound, staining the perfect white of the paper a deep crimson. I held everything up to the webcam, showing her exactly how far I was willing to go for her. And oh my God, the look on her face, the way her pretty almond eyes seemed to light up,
Oh, God.
it just filled me with joy. I don't really know why I'm telling you this. I know it's making me sound crazy just as much as it's making her sound toxic.
Uh-huh.
But in that moment, it all just made so much sense. Words are cheap, actions count for something,
Sure.
and there's no dearer currency than our own lifeblood. It seemed like the purest act of devotion imaginable, and for a while, I saw nothing wrong with it. I had zero regrets. When it was done, she told me to buy a larger plastic envelope, one that'll properly conceal the blood-filled paper one. Then I was to mail it to her. Again, it
Why?
made a lot of sense. It was possible to fake something like that, pretty easily, so the idea that she wanted to see for herself, to verify that I'd be true to her, it was just second nature. As instructed, I paid extra for next day delivery, a lot extra, but it would be worth it. It felt like every penny I spent on this girl was worth it. Money can't buy something like we shared, at least. That's the way it felt at the time. I remember being so excited at the prospect of her opening that envelope, of seeing her satisfaction at knowing what I'd done for her. And when she showed me her opening that thing over webcam, it was every bit as disgustingly glorious as I imagined.
Oh, God.
Her eyes lit up in that same adorable way, and she smiled in a way I'd never quite seen before. Such a wide, white smile. She giggled as she held it up, bringing a hand to her mouth, and in one fluid motion, she brought the blood-stained envelope to her lips and kissed it. Only, she didn't just kiss it. I watched transfixed as she began to lick at the dried bloodstains,
Oh, God!
spitting on them and lathering them with her tongue until the dried mess hydrated and formed a sticky crimson residue. Now, writing this now, it's really obviously disgusting, but at the time, it seemed like love. It was the purest act of acceptance of another living being I'd ever witnessed. She was purporting to adore the very blood that ran through my veins, that even in a dried-up, crusty state, she could invigorate it. It said so much with so little. The next day, we got into a conversation about cats. Amber loved kitties, as she put it. She had
Okay.
a bunch of clothes with cat designs on them, hair accessories that resembled cat girls. It was a whole theme for her. But since she was in college, living in a dorm room that she was basically trapped in due to lockdown, there was no way of her getting to own one. Now, for the first time being away, I confess that since my last girlfriend had broken up with me and moved out, I'd strongly been considering getting a pet to combat the crushing loneliness that came with a lifestyle such as mine.
Well, that's fair.
This revelation delighted her, and she asked if I would go get her one. I was confused at first, thinking we meant she wanted me to, send her a cat.
That's weird.
I didn't think this was entirely out of the question. I mean, animal shelters would still need to run despite the COVID thing. There had to be a way I could find an animal shelter in her area and arrange to have one dropped off. But obviously that's not what she meant at all. She wanted me to get a cat.
Oh.
I acquiesced to the idea pretty quickly. It did suit my plans after all. But then the conversation took a weird turn.
Oh.
She asked me if I loved kitties, so I told her yes. The truth is, I don't like them as much as dogs, but I wasn't about to overcomplicate the situation by saying that.
That's perfectly describes me. I love cats are great, but dogs are so much better.
Then she asked me which I liked more, her or cats. Again, I said her.
Of course.
Then she asked if I loved enough to hurt something innocent. I hesitated, but again I said yes. Then came those fatal words that now don't seem so loving anymore. Prove it,
Oh!
she told me, in no uncertain terms, that she wanted me to prove that I loved her more than any other living creature.
Oh, God.
She didn't want me to get into any trouble, to ruin my career by getting a criminal record or anything, but she still wanted proof. It was horrifying, listening to her talk.
Uh-huh.
She'd obviously thought this out, maybe even long in advance. She told me I could get a really old cat from a rescue center, one that was near the end of its life anyway, one that might well be suffering from joint pain or breathing trouble.
Dude!
She told me to look at it like an act of mercy, one that would prove I was the right man for her. I
No!
could make difficult decisions and own them too. And I'm ashamed to admit, I agreed to every word.
Oh my God! What
I
the?
found that local animal shelters in my area were still indeed operating. I called one to ask them a few questions regarding the adoption process and found it would be infinitely easier than I even expected.
It's like, yeah, can I adopt a cat so I can kill it, please? Like, what the fuck?
I could pay them a visit and leave with the cat the very same day. Then it came to asking my own rather tailored set of questions. I told her I wanted to give an older kitty a comfortable time in its twilight years, that I was something of a feline philanthropist and had been doing so for many years. It was heart-wrenching, hearing that rescue center worker telling me what a good person I was, how no one wanted to adopt the older cats, and how one would be so happy to have finally found someone to take care of them. I think that's what did it. The sobering moment that made me realize how stupid I'd been these past few weeks. How lust and desire and loneliness had driven me to the point where I was willing to relinquish my entire humanity.
Yeah.
I had never hurt so much as a fly in my entire life, and there I was, planning to hurt an innocent, essentially defenseless animal.
Yes.
I knew I had to do something. I opted for a clean break. I thought about writing her a long goodbye message, explaining how I'd come to that decision, hoping it wouldn't hurt her feelings too much. But
Oh boy.
then, it occurred to me that she didn't really have feelings, not like you or I might do. She had a fixation on what she could do. It all made sense in that
Oh!
context.
Oh.
She got off on power,
Oh.
on manipulation, and any way she could achieve that was justified. I blocked her on Discord, deleted the email account I'd used to send her long stream of consciousness letters from. It hurt. It hurt really, really bad at first, but once I told myself she'd easily find a new partner, a new victim, the decisions became much easier to deal with. So please, people, learn from my stupid, short-sighted mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Don't let this lockdown loneliness get the better of you, because There are people out there, bad people,
Uh-huh.
just waiting to exploit it.
Oh, God. Wow. Okay, so, I think all of these freaked me out pretty equally. Especially the one word, the whole home intruder thing, because, our homes are supposed to be a safe place for us, and whenever that's intruded upon, it, doesn't become safe anymore. And with how I have done dating over years, because I've done the whole online scene for a long time. I've met a lot of people, and things didn't really work out, but it was never along these lines. And part of looking online for other people, and especially in a time like this, it's always really tricky because you never know the type of person who's on the other line. You never know what their actual intentions are. And especially if they're on the other side of the freaking country, there's no real way to see if you can actually connect in person outside of, doing like face camming them or whatever. And just seeing, it makes me think, because I've done some pretty stupid things in my life for a girl, but cutting my hand, hurting any sort of creature, which, God, that's something I would never do, but, like, thinking about, like, what other people would be capable of, or what other people could be pushed to do, even though that they had never had any intention of doing, is just freaking horrifying. So I hope this puts you in the mood for Valentine's Day, and I also hope that you were watching this video late at night. So that will do it for me here, but before I go, though, I would like to give a huge shout out to all of my $5 and up supporters on Patreon: Marvin Espinoza, Cruising, and Wolverine310. Thank you guys so much, and with that being said, comment down below. Let me know, do you have any Valentine's Day horror stories? Please leave a like if you enjoyed, share this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, hit your notification bell because I put up new videos every single day, and I'll see you guys next time.